On Instagram, and now we are live on YouTube as well. What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone is enjoying this crazy Wednesday week. It's definitely been an eventful week in my household. We had our water heater broke, and if you've never seen what's in a water heater after it like breaks or something, it's the most disgusting thing you've ever seen. There's a good reason why you don't drink water out of the hot tap. You always go cold and then heat it up. But so today we're just going to be talking through some stuff about this whole coronavirus situation and kind of, my thoughts on how to stay, in a good mood, and kind of some scientific things that relate to how to make sure that the things that you want to do are good. And so essentially the whole idea behind this is a plead to a lot of people to make sure that they are embracing and having a purpose within these times. So I'm in a situation where, we just had to essentially get rid of a bunch of relationships that I was having with a bunch of players at CT, and we got a mandate that said that we couldn't communicate with the players. So I could read it, but so basically Cherry Creek Schools said that we basically had to be on a no contact policy once they canceled the season, which I thought was not cool at all. I thought that, considering we had just worked so hard to create this, this team, and then the team got canceled essentially, and then we had no ability to communicate for like 2.5 weeks with the players. And so I thought that that was a very interesting thing that Cherry Creek Schools did. I get that it's an unprecedented situation, but the idea that it was going to be a no contact situation through spring break through the next week, and then I think Coach Calhoun had a Zoom live stream on Monday that I couldn't attend because I had to move a bunch of stuff to my mom's. But I thought it was a very interesting thing to not allow the coaches to communicate with the players. I just thought that that was definitely weird. But so today we're going to talk about responsibility and basically why taking responsibility in a time like this for more than what you usually do is so important, especially for a young person, high school age or even middle school age, in just sitting at home, and even for, adults. So before we get into all of that, I'm just going to do the usual kind of walkthroughs. If you want to buy pro lacrosse balls, go to prolacrosse.com. Make sure you use the code POWLAX, and you'll get 10% off. Also, that works for Flip Goalie as well. So I'm going to make those short. Oh, lastly, if you want to buy some cool POWLAX merch, the link is in my bio on TikTok. Also, if you just go to POWLAX.com and you click on the store, you'll be able to find it. So today's live stream is going to be a bit shorter than other live streams, I think, just because there hasn't been really much going on. We're kind of going to get into some of the other lacrosse-based stuff on why kids would want to stay in school and do an extra year versus other things. But for the most part, we're going to be talking through responsibility. So last week, the whole live stream thing totally screwed up. There was a bunch of the health of the live stream deteriorated and it cut off and all this other stuff. But so now hopefully we have less devices on our live stream, so we should be good to go there. But so I talked through an idea through Harry Potter, and the idea was competence versus confidence, right? And so I essentially took the ending of the third Harry Potter book where they go back in time, and Harry realizes that he cast a Patronus spell, which he had never been able to do before. And so the reason why he was able to do it as you're reading it through the book is because he realized that the one that he had seen before they had gone back in time, was actually him. And it's funny that I got all the way into this idea of a Patronus and I didn't talk about the perspective and having what that simulates in our current environment. So to just I guess, get that out of the way, the idea of the Patronus in the Harry Potter books to me basically says, even in the worst of times when things around you are trying to suck out your soul, you have the ability to utilize your own mind and put positive things into the world. So right now is a time where it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, this shit is hitting you, right? Sorry for the S or whatever, but this is hitting you everywhere. Like, there's no one who is immune to this in the entire world. And if there are people who think they are, it's going to trickle down to you as well. And so now, if you haven't seen the numbers from yesterday, we lost over 800 people yesterday to this whole virus thing in the United States. And so it doesn't matter where you are, it's going to affect you. But the whole idea of this Patronus in Harry Potter is the idea of, even when everything is going badly, you have the ability to think and conjure up good memories that will allow you to cast the spell, which will then get rid of the negativity behind or that's in front of you, right? And so the whole thing, the entire thing, is all dependent on your ability to control your own thoughts and what you are perceiving. Because if you think the world is ending and you're Chicken Little, saying the sky is falling, there's no way you're going to be able to conjure enough poise to, not freak out. And the thing is for pretty much everyone I've ever met, they are best when they are poised. So my dad talks about it quite a bit, actually, as I was playing growing up. The idea is not to, like, everyone likes to get hyped before a game, right? They all like to get really, really hyped. And so as I was playing, I always remember that I would, I'd get all hyped up, and then we'd like walk onto the field, and I would immediately just kind of calm down and kind of be like, okay, here we go. Like, let's play. And that calm demeanor was something where I would have more control over what I was doing because I had that calm demeanor. And I think that's very important when you are trying to do everything, is not to get super excited or super low, because if you're on this kind of roller coaster ride, you really never know what to get, and you can't be consistent with what you are doing, and that becomes very hard for people to react to. And so the way that all relates back to how we need to make sure that let me make sure I phrase this correctly. The way that goes back to the idea of assuming responsibility for what's going on in your life is the fact that, because this is affecting everyone, you never know how your actions are going to be felt by other people. So I'm just going to give a couple stories and we'll kind of go through the ideas. Imagine you are a middle school kid right now. Say, your whole lacrosse season was done. You didn't even get to play in the basketball finals because they canceled it early. You haven't seen your friends in over 3 weeks. Things are starting to get, monotonous at the house. Mom and dad are yelling at you all the time because you're just kind of on your phone, or you're playing too much video games. And now you finally have to go back to school and things are completely different. The entire world was spun on its head. You still can't go see your friends who are the most important people for you, and you are just completely and utterly stressed out. Now, you may, and for the most likely, I remember myself as a middle school kid, I was, self-indulged to the max, but a parent's understanding of how weird it is for the kid is something that they most likely will know, because they've been through those situations in their life. They have the remembrance back to those times. And for the most part, parents will give up a lot in order for their kids to have a better experience in these crazy times. Now, let's do another story. Let's imagine that you are a parent like me, like, a bunch of other people who are on this thing. Parents right now, some of them are still able to work. Things haven't changed much. Maybe they work at King Soopers. Maybe they work in construction. Maybe they work, in a hospital. And for hospitals, those things are going crazy right now, right? Like, some of them are. It's not everywhere, but for a lot of people, things have gotten really, really stressful in that area. And so, back to the just kind of regular parent, for other parents, if their jobs did end, And today's April 1st, right? Maybe they didn't work for an entire month, and now they're like, if they are, what do you call it? If they're month to month, now they're wondering how they're going to be able to provide for their kids. And that is a situation where if you've looked at there was a video out of Italy where I want to say it was a mother, or I'm not sure if it was a mother or a father, but basically, someone was trying to get medication for their kid and couldn't get it. And it was like this whole kind of riot situation. But so basically, there's a humongous stress put on a lot of parents in that, if they can't provide, if they can't do what they need to do to make sure that their kids are eating, they're going to be super stressed out. And now the whole point of telling both of those stories is the fact that right now is a time to be a person who can take more burden than you're used to, right? It's more important right now to be someone who someone can rely upon. So Jordan Peterson talks about it as far as, being someone who, when your father dies, you can be strong and people can depend on you at the funeral. You're not going to go cower in a corner and not be useful and not do what you need to do. And I think that it transcends. This is a time where you can really kind of see how far you can go, who you can be to as many people as possible. And that can be a very liberating experience. So many people, the thing about the news is if you don't know to kind of keep the news at arm's distance or at long pole defensive distance, you can get caught up in the idea that the world is totally ending, and it can essentially undermine your power. And so the reason why I wanted to talk through responsibilities, because that's what this all tends to go through, is it is your responsibility to do more than you usually do so that the people around you, even if they don't even notice that you're picking up the slack, that, you feel you're doing way more than you're usually used to, even if they don't even notice that you're doing more than you usually do, you will feel better, more accomplished because you are fulfilling that role. And the idea that, and I know a lot of people like this, what's his name? John Gordon calls them energy vampires. The idea that people will wallow in a hole and just totally think that the world is ending and, kind of crumple, that's going to happen. Like, some people can't or don't want to pick up the burdens that others have left behind. And so, especially if you're a kid right now, and I did TikTok just simply for this idea, is, ask your parent how you can help more than you have in the past. Like, I get that they probably, if they have more time, that's awesome, than they used to do other things, but your ability to help them in more of a, I guess, in any more than you have before will be helpful. And also, from a parental perspective, I'm hoping that a lot of kids have taken this time to interact with their parents a lot more with a positive intent more than a negative one. So one of the things that I notice that I don't notice it, but one of the things that I can see happening in a household with especially high school kids is that the high school kids will essentially turn only to their phones and their video games and their apps, right? And it makes sense because for most of the time, they're either working on school, they're working on homework, they're working on lacrosse or football or whatever other the sport is, and then they have their phones with their apps on it, and then they have their video games. And for the most part, the parental relationship that they have is not going to be as, as pronounced as it is now. And without school, I guess school is kind of back in session now, but it's totally different now. But so without lacrosse, without all of those other things, the relationship that you have with a parent is going to be much bigger. And you can go into that with, two ways of thinking. You can either think that, oh man, this is the worst thing ever, or you can think, hey, I'm gonna play games and we're going to get to know my parents. And, the one thing that I wish I would have known more growing up is that just parents are just people too, because I definitely had this idea in my head that parents were like this weird, it's funny. I talked about waking life last week, and now it's the same kind of waking life story where there's a lady saying, I always thought when I got older that my life would just gel and that everything would be like the same, but you're going to feel relatively similar when you're older that you do now. And it's not like anything just kind of gels. Everything's always shifting, always moving. The whole the only constant is change thing. I hate the poster, but it's so true. But so to relay that back to the idea of the responsibility thing is, if you can take any pressure off of someone else, even if they don't recognize it, you are going to feel better about the fact that you added value in that way, even if no one recognizes it. So to relate this back to another thing that hopefully some of you have seen is there's this book called The 5 Love Languages. And the whole idea of the book is to understand the people around you so that when you are trying to show them affection, you show it in a way that they internalize it. And so I'm not going to go through the 5 love languages, but essentially I'll list off 2. One of them is words of aspiration, and the other is like gifts. And then their other one is like deeds. So some people like to be told that they're doing good things and they feel good about that. Other people want to receive gifts. That's how they feel loved. So like you buy them a necklace or a ring or whatever, and then they feel like, oh my God, I'm so loved because they bought this thing for me. Others want to spend quality time, yada, yada. But so if you can know how someone is going to appreciate what you do, your ability to do what they will internalize most will help your relationship, because it'll be the best thing. But so at this point in time, when things are completely stressed out, if you can do those things and take more responsibility for things in your world that will lessen the burden on others, people will really, it'll just help. And so the other thing about this is Jocko Willink talks about this all the time. And Jocko Willink is, I don't remember his title in the military, but basically he's this badass military dude who has his own podcast and whatnot. And it's funny because you listen to the podcast and he's got this really, really deep voice. And as he talks through the stories, it's very, very, serious and da-da-da-da. And so he's just a great dude. But the cool thing about taking responsibility for everything that's in your world, even if you didn't, even if you don't think you were the cause of it, is that it actually gives you the power. So last week we talked about, and sorry for not posting the podcast last week, but either way. So the thing we talked about last week was perspective and basically having a goal, having an aim. And so your aim could be to make sure that you are doing more chores than you usually do in your house. It could be to make sure that you are making sure food gets on the table next week, whatever your goal is. But your ability to seek out a goal, find out what that is, and then slowly move towards that goal, that is actually how your brain gives you positive emotion. So you will feel good as you do it. So, and then take me. What did I decide to do as this thing happened? I decided to do lacrosse trick videos every day. And it's funny because I remember thinking about it the very first day. I'm like, okay, this is going to hit everybody. Might as well start doing this, trick and wall ball videos. And so I walked out to the thing and I filmed the first one. And then now we're up to day, what are we at? We're at day 21. And so my thought process on this was, hopefully as this builds, it'll give someone something to do. And now I'm like thinking about what I have to do, like what new stuff. The tricks are easy. The wall ball's hard. Because the wall ball, there's only so many things you can do in a wall, but we'll see what I come up with. But so the point being, this new thing happened. I was taken out of my element as far as being a lacrosse coach, and I decided, okay, well, what can I do so that all of the kids around the country and whoever follows me can do something each day to help them? And amazingly, people have been hitting me up all around the country, showing me videos of their kids doing the tricks, videos of the kids doing the wall ball things. And now it's getting to the point where it's actually pretty hard. And so kids are showing and posting it more, which is so cool to see that, videos are actually being used. And every single day I have a goal. Every single day I have a mission that I have to go out, I have to go film these, and then I have to come back and I have to edit them. And so, especially for the TikTok people, thank you, by the way, Polly Wally. That's cool that you've learned a lot from my videos. But so the other thing that I do, how many people do we have on TikTok right now? We got 8 people on TikTok, 2 people on YouTube, 4 people on Instagram. Thank you guys for watching, by the way. And the thing about what I do is for the most part, I do coaching videos on YouTube. And, this is a time where I can get a lot more done in that realm because I don't have to leave. I don't have to go to practice. I don't have to plan for a day at practice. And I, in this time, totally kind of flipped what I do on its head in order to put out more daily content for players and coaches around the country. And that was, something where now every single day I go out and I make sure that I get a video done. And so I go out and I film it. That takes about 45 minutes, depending on what I'm doing. And then I come back in, and posting takes about an hour because I posted all these different places. And that ability to take that one goal or those 2 goals that I have each day and just get them done and get them out is something that gives me that positive emotion throughout the day. And so in the same sense, you can find that thing too. The worst thing, and I've talked about this a lot, the worst thing that you can feel is useless. Like, if you don't have something to do, there's always something to do. And so the way that Jordan Peterson talks about it, and this has become kind of a meme, it's, clean your room. How can you think you're going to have a positive impact on the world if you can't even keep your room clean? But so the idea is you sit down in your room and you just look around and you say to yourself, and you really ask yourself, what could I fix? What could benefit from something I could do right now? And as I look around my office right now, I'm like, okay, well, that can be cleaned, and I could reorganize those books so that they all actually sit on the shelf, and I could, make sure that this dry erase marker gets onto the dry erase board, which I totally missed, by the way. And you basically just look into what the room needs, and then you go and you fix it. And the act of moving towards making something better is what gives you positive emotion. And in this time, to pull this full circle, is that if you can if you can assume more responsibility and be responsible for more in this time, that will help you feel better about the day. And so, I've always wondered why people like to do, what do you call it? Not community service. Volunteering, right? People volunteer and they just go and they work at these places, and it's because it gives them something to do. And as you do it, you feel a lot better at it. Now, I'm not much of a volunteer person. I got in trouble when I was younger and had to do community service. And that was kind of just, I remember folding sheets, and then I remember working at Goodwill, and it was kind of like, it seemed to be a burden in the time. But now I look at what I want to improve on, what I want to be in the future. So in the future, at some point, I hope to be a collegiate coach. So anytime I can study the game, I like to study the game. I also build all of my coaching stuff, not necessarily for everyone else, but also for myself, because right now I'm researching a 2-3-2 clear that a bunch of teams have been using, and my ability to understand why they're doing it and how they do it will help me as I move on and get to the next level. And so then I have to really concentrate hard on doing it because I have to lay it all out, right? But so that's just something where each day as I am trying to get something done, I feel better about it because I have, moved one step closer towards my goal. And there are days where I don't actually move towards my goal, and those are the days that I feel most stressed. But so I guess that's kind of the main idea. And so right now I'm just kind of gonna, since it's pretty short, so we're on 24 minutes. I'm not planning on doing a very long live stream today because I think that I've kind of gone over it, and right now there's just not too much new. That's mainly the thing that I wanted to get out was, wherever you are, whoever you are, understand that everyone is under more stress than they usually are. And if you can if you can assume and take more responsibility to do more for your family, for the people around you, that even if that burden, even if you don't get acknowledged for the extra that you're doing, realize that it is helping, because you got to realize, like, I know on certain days, the act of doing things is actually cathartic. Caleb, I coach every age group, but I coach high school. That's like the top one, and then all the others. And yeah, happy birthday to DJ. Let's see. But so I'm getting caught up in the comment section. I think we are going to do kind of like a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions for me, ask them on TikTok, ask them on Instagram, YouTube. I will see them as well. So the idea of the cathartic nature, and cathartic just means it feels good, basically, like you feel better for having done it. The cathartic nature of doing chores for me is unbelievable. So one of the things that really helped me as I went through life was in college. I, kind of had that little hippie period, if you will, and, started meditating. And I still like meditation now. I think that it's a good practice. I just haven't been able to practice much. It's one of the things that you kind of get rid of when you have a kid. Even though, could I make time? I could absolutely make time. That's the thing. When anyone tells you that they don't have time for something, they're just unwilling to make time for whatever that is. And that's not a bad thing. You don't have to. Like, I'm unwilling to make time for some of the requests I get on Instagram, because I just, like, the whole toilet paper thing to me, where the kids are doing tricks with toilet paper, I just wasn't interested. So the idea of what are my favorites? Laundry. Okay. Folding laundry is like one of my favorite things to do. It's so weird. But I love just, throwing something on YouTube or a podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast or Jordan Peterson's podcast or whoever's podcast I want to listen to. I throw it on and then I listen to it and I fold all my laundry. And it's great. I love it because I'm just hanging out, listening, absorbing, and folding clothes. And then the other one is putting away the dishes, cleaning the dishes. It's just something that it's easy. It's fold, put in place, fold, put in place, fold, put in place, right? And it's super simple, super easy, and it takes a little while. It's very simple, but my mind can actually be doing other things while I'm doing it. So probably one of the reasons why I really enjoy doing it. Robert Fisher says, do you have any wall ball tricks that I can do? Tons. Just look over the last 21 days. There's tons of wall ball tricks. So actually one that's kind of good, if you go to the TikTok, which I know you're on Instagram right now, is I did one yesterday where Justin Gutterding had done it, and it was hard. It was really difficult. By the way, anyone who has a bounce backs are a great tool because they can pop the ball up to you, which gives you more time to react. And that's why those two tricks didn't look exactly similar. But getting the timing right, by the way, so dancing, right? Dancing and doing the duets on TikTok. They're really easy to do through a dance because as you hit certain parts of, as you hit the beat, it tells you what the cadence is, what the rhythm is. Now, doing wall ball style duets is extremely difficult because the cadence doesn't always match whatever the audio they put on it. And so to get something to be like exactly the same is very, very hard, especially if you do it live. I mean, the only way you can really do a duet is live. If you don't do it live, it doesn't really count. But yes, there's tons of wall ball tricks that you can do. Next, I don't even know how to say it. What is that? Bro Ice says, how did you get into lacrosse? So, for those that want to listen to the full story, I did an entire live stream series a while ago where I essentially talk through, I think it's like 5 in a row, where I basically talk through my entire life going through lacrosse. But so the way that I got into lacrosse was my brother in high school. So I've got 3 older brothers, and they are 6, 9, and 12 years older than I am. So my middle brother, Chris, his friend introduced him to lacrosse when he was in high school. And so he's the one who's 9 years older than me. So I was really young. I want to say I was probably like 5. I don't know. But so he brought a stick home, and then our family took we went from a soccer family to a lacrosse family essentially overnight. And so we all started playing, and I got to play in the backyard with my brothers. We would throw around. One of the things that I got all of the time was like, man, he's using his left and he's only like 8. Like, oh, he's going to be so good when he grows up. And it was very encouraging. It's probably why I love lacrosse so much right now, is because I got so much encouragement when I was younger. And the other thing was, I saw lacrosse as a means to grow and as the thing that I could control. So, 1 second. So, Mike, thanks, man. I hope you guys are staying healthy as well. So Mike said, hey, coach, I hope you and your family are staying healthy. Same. I've had this weird little nasally thing for like 2.5, 3 weeks now, and I'm hoping that it's not this whole thing. But I'm thinking that it's not. I think I've just had like this cold, but you never know, because they say that it has like a dwelling. It stays incubant for however long. But so here's what I love about lacrosse. And I am a very introverted person. On the field, I'm very extroverted. Like as a coach, I'm very extroverted. I'm not hesitant to tell you what you're doing wrong at any time. Like, I want to tell you what you're doing wrong so that you can fix it. And I hope that people who, when I get very animated, I hope that they understand that I'm just telling you and letting you know so that you have the ability to change what you're doing in order to improve on what you're doing. But so here's what I really love about lacrosse. And this is something that you can probably see in what I like to make. So being an introverted person, I love the time like this. Like, I don't have a guest. I at some point I'll get a guest, but I love just head down, working, figuring stuff out, learning, reading, watching film, studying, doing tricks. Love it. And so here's why. If my life was going crazy, things were going out of control, I could pick up my lacrosse stick and I could try a new trick. Stalls, got him. Stall regular, stall between the legs, stall behind the back, stall between the legs, stall regular. And I would practice and practice and practice and practice. And anytime I dropped it, I would just pick the ball back up, go again. And I loved it because I would try things that were really, really difficult. And it's just like the wall ball video I posted yesterday. The fun of the 2-ball wall ball on that little piece above the what is it? Ow. Above the storm drain. Now there's coffee everywhere. The whole idea of that was, not the whole idea of it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because my elbow just hit my coffee. But the thing that I love so much about doing that is not the idea of getting a video for you to, say, oh man, look how good he is. It's because I'm challenging myself and I'm controlling myself in that state. So in the same sense of taking responsibility for something new that you can do that will help alleviate stress for somebody else, it is an expansion of what I can do, and the pursuit of that is what feels good. Because once you get it, all of the time where you missed, that was a lot. It feels good because you're moving towards something. And so what I was moving towards with the tricks was just the ability to control my stick in a way that was unlike what other people could do, and it allowed me to just continually work. And anytime I screwed up, I would just pick up the ball and I would just go again. So that's one of the reasons why I do the wall ball and the individual trick. The other thing about this, and the thing that I think is very important for people to understand about me, is I don't care about the competition. I don't. I love the competition. Don't get me wrong. I love the competition of lacrosse. But I don't care about being the best ever. I'm not the best tricks person. Matt Gibson's way better than me. What's the dude's name? There's like 3 that are way better than me at tricks. Probably 4. POWLAX, he's a good dude. He's probably better than me. Tornado Lax is coming up. He's doing really well. Energy Lax, he's probably better than I am. And same with what's the other one who does all the like baton twirling? I don't really like that, by the way. The baton twirling, I think, is kind of a joke. But where they throw the ball way, way up and they spin their stick all crazy and then they catch it on the sidewall. Like, and the catch it on the sidewall, I think, is a very awesome trick. Like, that's really hard. But, that's just not my style. But so I don't really care about being the best. What I care about is the pursuit of improving and just, doing that. But so the reason why I do the wall ball like I do and the tricks like I do is because I don't really care about being the best. I just love the act of continuing to improve what in some realm all the time. And dude, I'm hoping that it's allergies, Mike. I'm really hoping that it's allergies because all my sniffles and whatnot, I've had them for like 3 weeks now, and I guess it is spring, and I do have allergic asthma for the springtime, but so I'm hoping that it's allergies, and not this, other thing. But so back to the whole tricks idea. The whole idea of it, and the reason why I do the tricks and the wall ball like I do is because that time of being by yourself, and no one can do it for you, right? No one can do the two ball throwing for you. You have to put in the time to be able to do it. And what's awesome, what's so cool, one of the coolest things is watching kids, especially the ones that I coach, watching them and having their parents tag videos of their kids doing these new tricks. Okay, so spoiler alert for today. I'm hoping I'm going to do it. What's up, Hayden? Hayden's been one of the people who's done a lot of the tricks, a lot of the wall ball stuff too. But so today's is going to be what do you call it? The two balls, and then we're gonna add in a behind the back. I'm hoping I can do it. I've never done it before, but so it's gonna be fun to go out and actually try and do it. Okay, so we've got two other questions, but so how did you learn tricks before social media? I always struggled with the mechanics of tricks. Okay, so one of the things that I loved about all of that time that I spent in the basement trying tricks and doing new things was the trick that got me on to trying new kinds of tricks was a trick that I actually saw on social media, but this was back in the AOL Instant Messenger days, and it was essentially a stall. I think it was the first day's trick on this whole lockdown trick series. But so then as I just started doing things, and the other thing is like stalling, I actually didn't start out stalling the ball. I started out popping the ball up into the air. And so I actually won a trick competition at a Powell Brothers lacrosse camp way back in the day by just bouncing the ball off of the sidewall and then going around it and then going around it twice and then doing it and da-da-da-da. And so it was funny because I actually got to talk to Casey and Ryan Powell like a week and a half ago about when I won that competition when I was 13. So that's pretty crazy to actually be able to talk to them about it again. But the way that I learned the mechanics of the tricks was when I was in high school, and I had been playing since I was younger, like I mentioned before, because my brothers introduced me to the game before a lot of other players who were my age did. It wasn't that I started before a lot of other players in my area. It was that I wasn't in the same area as the other players who started early. So some of you guys might know who Rocco Romero is. I believe he's the new head coach for Kent. And he's also, he played he lost in the best comeback effort ever. And it was the 2009 national championship game. He played for Cornell with Max Sebald, and they lost to Syracuse in the best comeback victory ever. Like, if you've never seen that, look up 2009 NCAA national championship ending and just watch the last 5 minutes. My brother Nick and I were on a couch at his house watching. I'll always remember where I was during that game. But so the point of that was because I found the game in a place where I wasn't with a bunch of other people who were going to teach me how, like my brothers did, but we would always play. And thank you, making me goalie, and we play baseball, and we do everything with our lacrosse sticks. But I would have to watch videos and break down the mechanics when I was younger. And then when I decided to do new tricks and things, I would actually have to break down the mechanics in my head in order for me to better understand them so that I could actually do the tricks that I wanted to do. So the reason why I understand the mechanics, and so if you think about coaching, it's the same thing, right? It's part whole methodology. And the idea of taking small parts, small actions that build to a complete, that's everything in coaching. That's actually how you would do basically everything. That's how cooking works. That's how bowling works. That's how basically everything you can teach in that method. And what are you laughing at, Mike? You gotta type that out. But so yeah, so basically that's it. So as far as the mechanics of how to do tricks, I basically just had to realize and try and understand them. I had to learn the mechanics, how I learned them, and then the thing that I do well is I'm pretty good at articulating how to do things. That's actually one of the reasons why all of my YouTube stuff has helped a lot of coaches, is because it's not that I say anything like that's crazy or new or anything that's revolutionary. It's just another decent way of explaining something so that people have, people can hear it in more than just the way that their coach says. Okay, so Maddox, I'm glad that you like the trick videos. But yeah, so it's all basically just, keep trying them. That's the main most important thing. All right. Jed says, are you already brainstorming summer lax plans for your high school teams to supplement the lack of spring season? If so, what? Assuming all of this starts to settle by then. Hayden said, that's cool. I should note my program has a little funding, so extra travel out of state for summer ball. What are your plans? Your YouTube has helped. Glad YouTube has helped, Hayden. And okay, so let's answer that one really quick. So I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, so don't think that I'm trying to do that. We're not getting a spring season. At least in Colorado, there's no way. I knew we weren't getting a spring season when they told us it was going to be about 2 weeks. I knew it was going to be there, but I'd been following this since January. And so at every step of the way, it was like, okay, well, that didn't go well. Like right when the news came that China was building hospitals in like 6 days to combat this, I was like, okay, there's no way we're having a season. And so then it went like another 2 months, and I was telling all of our coaches like, hey, this is going to happen, yada, yada, yada. But so it's going to get like the next 2 weeks is going to be awful in terms of what. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's going to get worse in the next 2 weeks. And for individuals in their lives, hopefully it won't be super bad. But a lot of people are going to know someone who this affects directly. And I mean, people who you love may end up in the hospital because of this. And your ability to, to do what you can do, that, you can be, to be as, as strong as you can be in those times and take responsibility for what you're doing is going to help you in that path. So the idea of having an extra high school season is not going to happen. And so I talked with this with Coach Mike actually the other day. And so in Colorado, once the season ends in May, so when the season ends, the state championship is like May 25th, right? But so the season ends around May 6th or 7th, something around there, right? The beginning of May is when the season ends, and then you have playoffs, and that's when the state championship is like May 25th. But so May 27th is the first day for our POWLAX summer program. And so that's our club team. And so the kids who are going to play club are going to play that. And then about 3 weeks after that, then we have our DLC Summer League is going to happen. And so there's actually not much time in between the spring season in order for players to play, like to summer. But so some places don't have summer ball, right? So the places that don't have summer ball, maybe they can create a summer program for them to do. But as far as Colorado is concerned, we're basically just not going to have our spring season. And so anyone who is like holding out hope, we're at the very beginning of the curve. And so the other thing is the whole idea of this, social distancing idea is to do what? It's to flatten the curve. And if we are going to flatten the curve, that's going to extend the amount of time that this takes, right? The whole idea of the curve is, we want to make sure that we don't overload our hospitals so that we can, thanks, Ree. The whole idea is that we don't overload the hospitals so that a bunch of people who get into the top of this curve, we don't cut off the whole top of that curve. Now, but the idea of flattening the curve is that we extend the amount of time it takes to infect everyone so that the people who get infected later have the ability to get treatment. And so, my main hope is that this whole thing ends around, the end of May. Because if not, if this goes into June, like June is our summer season. So that is how I make the majority of my, actually not the majority anymore, because the YouTube stuff has gone really well, and the patrons, thank you patrons. That's gone really well. But that's a big, like running the club team is a big chunk of the money that I make each year. So I'm hoping that we don't have to cancel and refund all of that. Because the whole idea of kind of being self-employed and doing that would just deteriorate everything. But so hopefully it'll be done by that. But if not, we'll figure it out. Like I'm lucky enough, and many of you I know are lucky enough as well, where, you have the backing of people around you who, even if things go horribly and you can't work, there are people you can rally with. And I mean, in general, in the United States, that's the case. Like you can absolutely find people who are willing to help in any situation. I'm just lucky enough that that's my parents. By the way, Hayden, since you're watching, the fact that your parents are willing to be moving camera people is the coolest thing ever. If you haven't seen Hayden's Instagram, which many of you probably haven't, you've got to check it out. Basically, he does training in his backyard, which, by the way, your backyard is huge. Very cool. And basically, his parents will run after him as he's doing all of these, like FC online and some of my videos. Like, it's very cool. What I'm saying, Hayden, is you must thank them. Good. And that should be a THEY''RE. They are, not there. Just so we're clear on that one. He spelt there wrong. You're young though. It works. And it's funny because I remember meeting you at LaxCon, and you're kind of like looking up like, yeah, I do my Instagram too. And I just couldn't place where I knew you from. And it was cool to then recollect later, and then you did the picture, which appreciate you for posting that picture. That was cool. I got to take that, and maybe I'll shout you out today. We'll see. Don't get excited. Okay. So let's pull this full circle, and we'll have this end of the day because I got to go film some wall ball, and I got to film a wall ball and a trick, and I got to get that stuff out too. So the whole idea, especially for young people, even older people for this time, is to assume and take up more responsibility than you are used to, because now is the time when it matters most. And even if you do not, and I've said this every time I've mentioned this, even if you do not get the recognition that you feel you should based on, the fact that you're doing more dishes or you're doing more of something else, even if you don't get the recognition, understand that your ability to take responsibility for something extra will help the people around you. And if you're wondering, hey, what can I do? What is something that I could do that's extra that will help alleviate the stress for someone around me? Because everyone's in stress. All you have to do, go to any room in your house, anywhere you want, just sit down and go, what could I do? How can I help? And things will magically appear to themselves. It will appear to you. And like, maybe it'll be just cleaning that room. Maybe it'll be, I could get my homework done. Or maybe it could be just anything extra that you could do. And it will help your family. It will help you. And as you complete your tasks, you will feel better for it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that live stream. TikTok, very surprised. We're at 10 now. I had more viewers on TikTok than on Instagram or YouTube today. That is very encouraging. It's probably because my last week's one was awful. It was horrible. I think we had some other people getting on the internet, and so it kind of like cut off. And then I didn't even post it to the podcast, which wasn't a good idea. I should probably still post it. But so it was definitely not the best week last week. But so I can understand why Instagram, and YouTube might have been a little bit light today.